Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Casey and I like to talk about fitness and beauty and a few things in between. So if that sounds like your jam, hit that subscribe button and keep on watching. Today I am going to show you how to work with the Colourpop mattes with glitter. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I will show you here in this palette. I have the Colourpop Blush Crush palette here. And this one actually has 3 of the matte glitter shades. So this one here in the corner, Blush Wine. This one in the opposite corner, How Rouge. And then that one there in the middle, Made You Blush. I thought that I would create this video because most people don't seem to be a fan of this particular eyeshadow formula. For those of you that are struggling with this specific formula, I'm just going to show you a few techniques that you can use to enhance the glitter. Before we get started, I do want to say that the way this eyeshadow is formulated, I don't think the glitter is meant to last all day. Anything and everything I've ever heard from Colourpop regarding this specific formula is that the glitter is there to help the shadow blend better. So in hearing that, I don't think the glitter is meant to be there for vanity purposes. It sounds like it's meant to be there more so for the mechanics of the eyeshadow to help the eyeshadow perform better. So even though the tips that I'm about to show you are going to be different ways to give the formula a little bit of tack to allow the glitter flecks to stay there a little bit longer, I can't promise you that it's going to last all day. I think if you are looking for a look with glitter, you are much better off going for a liquid glitter eyeshadow. So like the Too Faced Tutti Frutti is my personal favorite. NYX makes great glitter eyeshadows. These are their glitter golds. They work and perform very well. The e.l.f. liquid glitters are another great option. The only thing that I don't really like about these is that I feel that they dry up very quickly. I went out and purchased almost every single color when they first came out because I love glitter and because they're very affordable. And I'm finding that because I don't use them every day, formulas are already starting to dry up a bit. So that's my only complaint with these. The CoverGirl Exhibitionist Liquid Glitter Eyeshadows from the drugstore are great. And then lastly, I just got this one from Makeup Revolution. It is dual-sided, so this end is just a champagne metallic liquid shadow, but this side is a silver glitter, and it's jam-packed with glitter. Like I said, if you are wanting the eyeshadow look with a little bit of glitter, this is going to be your best route in terms of longevity. And also, I like that you have the option if you really want to go ham and layer up the glitter, you have the control with this. Or if you want just a little bit of glitter, just a little fleck here and there, you have that control with this. So as I said, I think this is going to be your best route if you're wanting that glitter eyeshadow look. But nonetheless, with these tips that I'm about to show you, they will give your matte glitter shadows some longevity, and I hope that they will help you achieve the glitter look that you are looking for. Because I already have makeup on and I only have 2 eyes and more than 2 techniques to show you with this, I am going to be showing you on my arm. However, at the end of the video, I will insert some clips of me utilizing one of these techniques for my makeup for the day with the matte glitter eyeshadow, and then what it looks like at the start of the day when I'm done doing my makeup, and then again at the end of the day, so you can see if there's longevity with this tip. So, with all that being said, let's get into the demonstration. So the first technique that I'm going to show you, you will need your eyeshadow, my Colourpop Blush Crush eyeshadow palette here. I think I'm going to use the Blush Wine shade just because that is the darkest, and I think the contrast of the dark shadow and the glitter is going to show up best here on camera. So I will use that color for all of these techniques just to keep things consistent. And then you will need a little bit of water or a finishing spray. And then you will need an eyeshadow brush and or one of these sponge tip applicators. I really like these. I know a lot of people think they're total rubbish and wish that people would just stop putting them in palettes, but I really enjoy them as long as you get a good one. A lot of the ones that come in the drugstore palettes are not very good. These are really loose and end up coming out and you just jab your eye. But if you can find really good quality applicators like this, I love them. I found a pack on Amazon that I will link them down below if you are interested in trying them out. They are not very expensive and I can get a lot of use out of one before I have to throw it out. But these are really good, and like I said, I use them probably every day when I do my makeup. So I will be using this a few times throughout these techniques. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip my brush in the Blush Wine shade, and I'm going to lay that on my eyelid. See, you can already see the glitter flecks brushing away. So I don't think, especially if you're wanting the glitter flecks to stand out, that Using a brush is going to be the best way to go about it because as you can see, the glitter flecks are just brushing away. So I like to first start with just laying down a wash of color, specifically the color that I'm going to be using because that will help prevent splotchiness. If it is going to apply splotchy or patchy, you at least have that base layer of solid color. All right, so I have my base layer of the blush wine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply another coat on top, but I'm going to do it wet. So for this, I am going to use the sponge tip applicator. And then to apply this wet, you could either use a finishing spray or you could use water. I much prefer to use water, so that's what I'm going to be using for this time around. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sponge tip applicator, I'm going to dip this in a little bit of water. And then I'm just going to pat it here on the eyeshadow. And then I am going to pat it on top of my base layer. And because we're trying to pack on the glitter, it's okay, especially if you're using the sponge tip, to go back in and dip on top of the shadow a few more times because we are trying to pick up the glitter and pack on the glitter and pack on the color. When I was initially brushing on my base layer with the brush, you could see the glitter flecks just kind of flying all over the place. And then now with this technique, I'm not seeing any glitter really flying around. It's just nicely packing on top of that base color. So that would be it for technique number 1. I'm going to go back in with one more round of patting the glitter in. So I did the same thing, I just took the applicator. I didn't re-wet it actually, but now I am just patting in another wash of the glitter matte color. And hopefully the camera's picking this up, but from my perspective, I'm seeing a lot of glitter. It is a little bit around here on my skin, but I think that's gonna happen because, again, like I said in the intro here, this is a powder formula. Like I said, there's nothing in the formula that is giving the glitter tack. That's what these techniques are for. Hopefully we're giving something, a little bit of tack to the powder glitter to stick to. So I think that's it. That would be it for technique 1. I hope that you can see some of the glitter here within the wash of color. I think all of these techniques are going to do this, but they are going to intensify the actual color. So if you compare this to the initial wash of color, this is obviously much, much darker. So it's just something to be aware of. So that is it for technique number 1. Okay, for technique number 2, I am going to be using a sticky base on top of the wash of color that we are going to start with. So for this, you could use an eyeshadow base. I really like the NYX eyeshadow base. This one is in the shade Skin Tone. I don't know, it doesn't have like a number on it, so I don't know if this is the only skin tone shade that they have. If they do, that's definitely something they need to work on. But I really like this because it's a wash of neutral color and it's sticky. So I will be demonstrating this technique using this product. You could also use a concealer. However, I feel that a concealer dries down too quickly and doesn't leave you that lasting tack that I'm looking for with this technique. However, I have the Undone concealer palette. This is my absolute favorite concealer. As you can see, it's incredibly well loved. This is a palette form rather than like the liquid form, so that's why it looks much different. But this I really like because it is stickier and you have a little bit of tack time to work with the concealer before it completely dries down. So I recommend this concealer anyway, but if you do happen to have this or happen to have a concealer in this type of formula, you could use that. Or you could use a eyeshadow pencil. I really like the NYX Jumbo crayons. I also really like the e.l.f. the No Budge Shadow Stick. And then I also have the obviously this has been very well also. This at one point was the Benefit, I can't even remember what it's called. It's their eyebrow highlighter anyway. So you could use any of these types of products for this because again, it's going to give you a little bit of tack once you lay it down. That's going to give the eyeshadow and the glitter something to stick to. The only thing that I want to say about using a product like this and why I'm probably not going to use these products today is because I don't have a skin tone colored eye crayon. And so if I were to go in, say using this milk one, this is drastically going to change the end result of the eyeshadow color because you're applying the shade on top of a white base. So it's going to be much more pigmented, much more brighter than just the initial color that we're looking at in the pan. And that's not the look that we're going for today. And then I also have these two, which are, this one is like a metallic pearl shade, and this one is a metallic champagne shade. We could use either of these also, however, because the finish of these two products are different than the color and the finish of the eyeshadow, it's going to change the final result of the eyeshadow color. I hope that's making sense. So if I were to want to use one of my crayons, I'd want to use something closer to my skin tone, which is why I say that you could maybe use like a brow highlighter color, because those tend to be closer to your skin tone and is not going to drastically change the final look of the eyeshadow color as much as some of those other eyeshadow crayons would. I hope that made sense. So for this look today, I am just going to stick with using my NYX eyeshadow base. I don't know, because I've never used them, but like the MAC paint pots, or I know Colourpop also has like new cream type eyeshadows like this. I would say that those would work. I imagine that it's a similar formula to this. However, I can't say that in complete confidence, only because I haven't tried those products before. So I'm going to start with just creating that wash of color like we did in the first technique. Okay, so I have my initial wash of color. I'm going to now go in using my finger into my NYX eyeshadow base. And then I am just going to, again with my finger, pat that on top of my base color. So now I am going to go in and top now the eyeshadow base with that eyeshadow color. So you could use the sponge tip applicator again, or you could use your finger. So I think this time around I'm going to use my finger. I think this technique is definitely obviously going to be a bit more time consuming to blend everything out and to really build up the color. But again, because we're using a tacky base, I think that's going to help the glitter flecks stick longer than what we did in technique 1. So I am re-dipping my finger in the shadow, just patting my finger on top, and I'm trying to build it up in light layers because I don't want it to be patchy. And again, because I'm working, my eyelid isn't this big, obviously, I'm just trying to take up a bit more space so that this shows up better on camera. So this is taking a bit longer than if I were just doing this on my eyelid, but I want to build up the color in light layers. I'm not putting a whole lot on my finger each dip. I'm just packing on a little bit of color each time. And as you can see, that's building up nicely. I think that this looks good as it is, so we are just going to call it a day, and that is it for technique number 2. All right, guys, we are on to technique number 3, last but not least. And this one is going to be the most technical in that it's going to require a mixing liquid. This is something I feel that a lot of people probably don't have. This is new to me here within the past month or two, and I've really enjoyed playing with it. So this is the Mayron mixing liquid. I got mine on Amazon for, I think it was like 15 bucks or less. And you get a lot of product in here because a drop goes very far. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare, I just had this little dish here, and I have, this is from an old skincare sample. I just used this for the dropper. So I'm going to pick up some of the mixing liquid and drop just 1 or 2 drops into the bowl. That should be plenty. And then, as with the previous 2 techniques, I'm going to go in and create my base layer of shadow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to dust some of this shadow, scrape some of the shadow here into the bowl. All right, and then just as with the last technique, I'm just going to start patting this on top of my base layer. Again, in light layers, I don't want to glop on a bunch of color, especially since this is much wetter, much more wet. I don't think wetter is a word. Much more wet than the previous two techniques. So the tendency for the shadow to apply splotchy is much more likely. So that's why I want to be careful to not go in with too heavy of layers. So again, because I am working with such a bigger area than my eyelid, of course my eyelid isn't that big, I am seeing that this is, I'm pretty sure the camera's picking it up, but you can see where it's become splotchy. I will say that in experimenting with this, I haven't had that issue on my eyes. Again, like I said, I think because I'm trying to work with such a larger area that it's just going to take more time to blend out and get it to be just as I want. So when I'm working on my eyes, it isn't quite this finicky is what I'm trying to say. So if this were my eye look, I would right now walk away and let this dry down for a few minutes and come back and assess the situation, as Allie Klein says.
So we're just gonna leave it at that. Let's step back and assess the situation.
So I'm gonna let this sit here just for a minute or two, just because this is a different medium than what we were doing before, and this will require just a little bit of dry time. Okay, so it has been a few minutes, and I believe this has dried down so that the color is a bit more even. I think this is looking pretty good. I do see a little bit of patchiness right in here, but again, I think that's just because I'm working with just a larger surface area. Like I said, I haven't had issues with it looking splotchy on my eyes. So if this were to happen on my eyes though, I would probably go in with the dry tip of my sponge applicator. Just dip that, pat that on top of the eyeshadow dry, and then tap that on top. I probably wouldn't go in with another round of the wet mixing liquid, just because that's really going to start to make it look muddy, because we're putting wetness on top of a dried down formula, if that makes sense. So as you can see, I've been patting the dry shadow now on top of that, and that's really evened out that patchiness that was there. So if this were my eye and I wanted to fix that patchiness, that's what I would do, but now I would call that good for my eyeshadow look today. Anyway, that is it. That is the last and final technique I have to show you for getting more out of the Colourpop matte glitter eyeshadows. I'm getting ready to go off to work, and I just want to show you a close-up of my eye makeup. I did use the Colourpop, the Blush Crush palette, and I used that same shade that I used in the technique tutorials, the Blush Wine. So, and I used technique number 3, so I used my Mayron mixing liquid to apply the eyeshadow. So I'm going to give you a close-up of my eyes, and hopefully the camera will pick up on the glitter flecks, because I can certainly see them. I'm standing right in front of the window, so hopefully the natural light will help things show up a bit better for you. Hey guys. Maybe this will be a bit different. So I do work in a hospital, and my job is very physical. I am very busy, so we will see at the end of my 8-hour shift if my makeup, the glitter flecks, stuck. I'm not entirely positive that they will, just like I said in the beginning, in the intro here, that this specific eyeshadow formula, the glitter isn't meant to stay there. It's more for the mechanics of the eyeshadow. But with these techniques, we'll see if it provides some lasting power to the glitter. So I will give you an update here when I'm finished with my shift, if it will withhold the wearing of the mask and the safety glasses and all the running that I do. So I hope that you were able to see the makeup okay, and this is what I got going on. Anyway, I will be back in 8-ish hours, so we'll see what happens. All right, I am home and done with work for the day. It was a very, very busy shift. If you are a hospital worker right now, hang in there. So unfortunately, I do work evening shift, so I no longer have daylight, and so I'm going to do my best to try to show you what my makeup looks like, do my final check-in to see if the technique helped to keep the glitter on my eyeshadow. And from looking in the mirror, I'm hoping that the camera picks it up as well. I still see a few glitter flecks, surprisingly, so I'm going to zoom you in a bit. So hopefully the camera is picking that up a bit. The cool thing about the mixing liquid is that it makes whatever product you mix with it, it makes it waterproof, and so that's why I chose technique number 3, because I knew that would be the longest lasting technique. That proved to be successful. I am actually very impressed with
how much glitter is actually still on my eyelids. I do see a little bit, again, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, I do see a little bit of fallout here, but I don't know if that's from the eyeshadow or that could be from my highlighter or the part of the shadow that I had put in my crease. So I mean, I'm not really sure, but I anticipated fallout, and it's the end of the day, so given what I am seeing right now, this is pretty good, better than I expected. So anyway, I just wanted to provide you with the 3 techniques for working with the Colourpop matte with glitters, and to show you the success of one of them. And I think that's all that I have to share with you. So that's it. I'm gonna wash my face now and call it a day.
Alright guys, that is going to conclude today's video. I hope this was helpful for you and you learned a thing or two. Let me know down below, are you a fan of the Colourpop matte glitter shadows? Do you like them? Do you hate them? I personally am a fan of glitter always, so I don't mind it. I want to thank you so much for your time today, and I hope that you hit that subscribe button so you can come back next time. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.